Roger Love, are you here with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I could see you, hear you, and you were there. Why that microphone? Is that the microphone that sounds the best?
Oh, it's just a microphone I've had for many years, and I think it sounds fine.
Fine.
It
Fine.
sounds fine. At my studio, I have amazing microphones, but I want to prove that you don't need to spend $10,000 on a microphone to communicate effectively and move people emotionally. And so why not this cute little white ball one?
So Roger, have you heard of this thing where people are zoomed out because there's so many meetings going on, people aren't talking like this. They are not treating it like a real one-on-one or speaking to a crowd type environment. They're acting as if they're talking to their computer.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to give some concrete advice and specific sounds that people need to use so they turn it into a presentation platform that really works for them instead of something that they're just tolerating and everyone who's watching them is tolerating their performance or lack thereof.
The mic is yours.
Okay, so awesome. Thank you so much for having me. As Ken said, I want to talk today about how to use these platforms like Zoom and FaceTime more effectively. I also want you to be thinking about your cell phone. Yes, you have one of those. I even have a regular phone attached here for emergency. So it's about Zoom, yes, but it's also about just anything that comes out of your mouth. So right now, these are our main delivery systems that are available to us. A buddy of mine this week published in Forbes magazine this article that talked about the difference between social distancing and the distance and the difference between physical distancing. So the virus isn't stopping any of us from being social. We can communicate with anyone all around the world. I've known my whole life that voice is the most important communication tool that you have. So now to me is the perfect moment in history to learn how to use it better. And you don't really have a choice. You need to, because clearly right now, your businesses and your relationships are depending upon how you're using that medium and how you're communicating. So I just want to share some of the things that I know today. I know that there's been a ton of scientific research done on how music affects the brain. I remember when I was younger, I was reading a book called The Mozart Effect, and it said if you listen to music, your kids will be able to learn better. And the reason is music is filled with tons of emotions. But most people's speaking voices actually have very little emotions because we've all learned to speak from word to word, thinking that if I somehow had the right word, that I could convince you of anything. But we need to learn to speak emotion to emotion, and that's my specialty. See, here's the problem and why that's so important and why speaking word to word isn't going to help you on any of these Zoom calls. When you speak to someone, even virtually, specifically virtual, sound is supposed to leave your mouth and then vibrate the bodies of the people that hear you. So if they're sitting in front of a computer screen, if they're wearing headphones, there's still a vibration that's happening. The first part that sound goes into the brain of the listener is called the amygdala. The amygdala only thinks that what's important are emotions. It doesn't think words have any emotions. So if I say to someone, I love my wife, I hate my wife, please take my wife, please take my wife, I love my wife, I hate my wife. You don't know because they're just words. There's no emotion attached to them at all. I love golf, I hate golf, golf sucks, golf's amazing, whatever. So the amygdala, the job is to weed out anything that isn't emotional and then pass what is emotional onto the prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain that can feel things, process information, put it into memory, and then act upon it. So if you're just speaking without any emotion, if you're still just using words, then your brain isn't even going to register it, feel anything about it. And you're having what I call what, what I'm having called shallow communications. Goes in the ears, the brain says, don't have time for that, don't care about it. And then it's looking for something else that it could feel emotional about. So after teaching singers for almost 20 years and then speakers, I realized that singing and speaking is supposed to be basically the same thing. The main elements of music are pitch, how high or low you're going, okay? Pace, how fast or slow the music is going. Tone, are you listening to airy tones like flutes, or are you listening to edgy sounds like electric guitars playing? What is the melody? What's the pattern of the melody? And then what's the volume? So those are the main components of speaking. But I basically teach people how to put those same elements into their speaking voice, the pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume, so that they can literally create the most physical and emotional responses from the people that are listening to them. I say that Zoom and GoToMeeting and FaceTime, you got to think of it as like, for the user, it's like you're watching a TV screen. Well, people are used to watching the TV and being entertained by their favorite shows, but they're also used to seeing commercials. So when they see you pop up on their screen, part of the cave person brain thinks, oh, this must be a commercial. They're going to be selling something to me. And they don't know, because everybody's all of a sudden on the screens and everything sounds like a commercial. They really don't know. They've lost their ability to decide who is a snake oil salesman and who is someone who truly cares and is showing authentic moral core values. Because people are looking for authentic. They're done with salespeople. You've got to showcase what's authentic. That has to be the new norm, and you have to create sounds that do that. By the way, if you think you have scheduled an hour Zoom call and you've got an hour to convince somebody of anything or to teach them of anything or to show that you care, you have basically 3 or 4 seconds when you open your mouth before people start making value judgments about you. And the first 2 value judgments they make in those seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, is, do they like you? Not do they want to marry you. Do they like you enough to listen to a few more seconds of what the heck you have to say? Also, they decide in those first few seconds, do they trust you enough to want to listen to more of what you have to say? So you don't have time to make a second impression virtually. You only literally have time to make a first impression, and you have about 4 seconds. That is scary. So let me teach you some specific emotional sounds. That's why I'm here, so that you can capture those first 3 or 4 seconds, and then that will open the door to them immediately thinking they like you enough to invest more time. They believe you enough to spend more time and listen to what else you can make them feel. Okay, the first sound we need to understand is melody, and how we're using melody properly and improperly. Melody has to do with the pattern of notes, just like a song that goes up and down and stays on the same note. So you have a melody going. You're actually speaking and singing every time you open up your mouth and speak, but you don't know what kind of melody you're using. Most people have this kind of a melody called monotone. I'm the most exciting person in the world. My dog licks me on the mouth. My wife loves me. My kids follow me. Oh, wait a minute. If I'm a piano, I only have 1 key. That sucks. How many different pieces can I play with 1 key? Monotone. And you're like, Roger, I don't talk like that. I'm in metal. I'm like a superstar, dude. I have all this personality. I have all this intellect. No, about 90% of the population talks in a monotone or a tiny bit past monotone, where they might be using 3 notes to make it through their life. There's like, here's my main note. I'm going to talk to you about this. Then when I get really excited, oh, I go right here. Wow, I just won the lottery. And then I go back to my safe note. And now I'm just going to stay here again. And if I really get sad, oh, maybe I'll go to a little lower one. But then I live my whole life on 3 notes. And that's actually what you're doing. And I challenge all of you to record yourselves today and listen to yourself and try to you don't have to be a musician or a virtuoso to hear that you're staying on the same note a lot of times. Because if you stay on the same note more than 1 or 2 words, that's too much. You already lost them. You bored them. You put them to sleep. There's another way that you should understand melody goes. You could be using melodies that go up called ascending scales. Now I'm walking up the steps. Now I'm going from low notes to higher notes. This is how I speak. Ascending scales. Here's the scientific and psychological truth. When you use ascending scales, ones that go from low to high, it makes people happy. I love my wife. I love chocolate. I love Ken. Wow, Ken is so good looking. That is amazing. Did you say metal? Oh, metal. My heart is made of gush. Forget about metal. It's made of emotions. When I use ascending scales, I make people happy and I sound happy. You want to do that? I'll tell you more about that in a second. Most of you, if you're not just staying on 1 note, are using what I call descending scales. Now I'm going down lower. High note, lower, lower, lower. Now I'm speaking like this. It sounds like this. I love my wife. It's my birthday. I didn't get any presents. It's okay, Ken. You can have me on next week. And again, you're saying, Roger, I don't speak like that. Man, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a guru in my field. I don't go down, do descending scales. And I'm like, oh, good. When you record yourself doing melody, record yourself speaking again. I bet over 90% of you, every single time you get to a comma or a period, you go down. So I was talking and then I get to a comma. And then I'm talking a little bit more and I get to a period. I not only go down in melody, but I go down in volume. So every single time you get to a comma or you get to a period, you go down. Hello, that's called a descending scale. Why do you think people are interrupting you so much? Why do you think you're boring people? Why do you think they're tuning out? Because you're going down at commas and periods. You're using descending scales. You were taught that in school. As a matter of fact, your teacher kind of sabotaged you. She might have been the loveliest person and allowed you to take naps every day, which made you very, very happy. But she was also sabotaging your melody mind. They taught us in school, at least in America, to go down when you got to a comma or when you got to a period. Because the only time she said that I could go up was when I got to a question mark. You like chocolate? What is it about metal? So my teacher said, don't even think about going up in melody unless it's a question mark. And that sabotaged a lot of people. And there's all these stupid articles that have been written over the years about uptalk. And they're like, oh, you can't go up. You'll sound like either you're from a terrible part of Australia or you'll sound like you're from a terrible part of the San Fernando Valley. And you'll sound like a valley girl or a valley speak. Those articles.
Roger.
Yeah.
Can I twist your ear? Can I tempt you to give us an hour on Thursday where you could actually be our mentor?
It'd be my honor.
I'm being serious because everything you are saying needs a pause for us to actually test this.
Yeah, I know.
And I would rather not say, let's put this all together like this. Let's kind of be a little more fluid and let's take at least an hour on Thursday and allow you to be our mentor through this process.
Oh,
is that fair enough?
Of course. Anything that would help.
Anything that will help. No, it's interesting. Again, we did this this hangout on Monday night where you got to meet some other newer metal members. And one of the guys in the group was Gary Meyer, who is inducted in the Radio Hall of Fame. And the minute you heard his voice, I'm Gary Meyer. I mean, it was low with all the peaks and valleys to where you could close your eyes, and it was soothing, enlightening, intriguing. That doesn't come natural, does it?
It comes natural to the people that maybe grew up as singers and understood about melody, or grew up playing an instrument, and they understood that there was so much emotion in the way you could change the sounds. But it doesn't come natural to speakers because we believe that speaking is a word to word medium instead of an emotion to emotion.
Yeah, good point. So Thursday, Roger will be our mentor. And even an hour is not enough, but I'm just saying, you get a sample of what he does. He's part of the metal family. He can make everybody sound great. Who's interested? Raise your hand. Who's going to be there Thursday? Raise your hand if you're going to be there Thursday. It's just me? There you go. I see some hands going up. Thursday, guys. This is, yeah, there you go. James Golding. I see this. Guys, this is part of metal. And then what you do is you go, oh my God, Roger's incredible. And our goal, by the way, everyone in metal, is to help everybody get deal flow, help everybody get opportunity. I want Helix to do incredibly well and what he's working on. I want Dennis to do real well. I want Will to do, I want Roger to do real well. We're here to help. So Roger, Thursday?
It's a date.
It's a date. All right. Roger loves hanging out. By the way, is Love really your last name?
Yes, my father's name was Leon Love, and I was born Roger Love. And true story, I that name just mostly got me beat up when I was a little kid, so I wasn't thinking that was a super cool name. And then when in 1989, I wrote my first book called Set Your Voice Free. And when the publisher sent me the book, and I looked at my name and it said Set Your Voice Free, which I wasn't that crazy about the title, but then when I read by Roger Love, and I was like, wow, that name looks good in print. That's a cool name.
It is a cool name. Well, Roger Love is part of the metal family. Roger, thank you so much.